Have you ever noticed how some people present themselves as sugar and spice and everything nice until somebody disagrees with them? They say they're high vibe. They say they've mastered their emotions. They say they've transcended the drama. But the moment they're challenged, questioned, connected, corrected, or confronted, everything changes. And that's what we're talking about today. Because avoiding triggering situations isn't always as evolved as we've been led to believe. Sometimes it's wisdom. Sometimes it's a boundary. But sometimes it's fear wearing a spiritual costume. I'm SarahSigma, and this is What the Frequency, a place where remembering is sacred, healing is rebellion, and love has the frequency that never fades. Let's jump into this frequency. One of the most repeated messages in spiritual communities is protect your peace. And I agree, to a point. If you identify as a Blu-ray, you understand the mechanics of divine truth and justice too. But somewhere along the way, protecting our peace became avoiding anything that made us uncomfortable. We stay quiet instead of remaining sovereign and risking the peace, which adds to our throat chakra work. We unfollow people who disagree. We leave conversations the moment that tensions appear. We label people low vibration or low vibers. We call criticism an attack. We call accountability negativity. And before long, we've created a reality where nobody is allowed to challenge us. Yet, somehow, we call that growth. But if your peace only exists under perfect conditions, is it really peace? Or is it the dependency upon the specific conditions to maintain that peace? Because anyone can be calm when life cooperates. The question is, can you remain connected to yourself when it doesn't? Let's talk about anger. Many people fear anger because they've witnessed it being weaponized. Maybe they grew up around yelling. Maybe they experienced abuse. Maybe anger meant danger. Danger does hold the word anger inside its bounds, after all. But anger itself is not dangerous. Anger is information. It is energy in motion, aka an emotion. Anger often appears when a boundary has been crossed, a value has been violated, a wound has been touched, a need has gone unmet. Something important requires your attention. Anger is a messenger. The problem begins when we either suppress it or become possessed by it. One abandons self, the other abandons consciousness, and neither creates healing. Let's redefine something. Being triggered is not failing. Being triggered simply means something within you has been activated. That's it. A trigger reveals, it exposes, it illuminates, The trigger is not the wound. The trigger points toward the wound. Imagine accidentally touching a bruise. The touch didn't create the bruise. It revealed it. It exposed it. It illuminated it. Likewise, life reveals the places within us that still desire attention, compassion, and healing. And that's actually a gift, even when it doesn't feel like one. This might challenge some people. There is a version of spirituality that teaches avoidance as enlightenment. Stay away from difficult people. Avoid uncomfortable conversations. Never engage with conflict. Protect your energy at all costs. Now, hear me clearly. Sometimes distance is necessary. Sometimes boundaries are sacred. Sometimes leaving is exactly the right move. But if every challenge requires escape, your nervous system never develops resilience. You've removed the opportunity for growth. You haven't become stronger. You've simply become more insulated. And eventually, your world becomes so heavily filtered that even mild discomfort feels unbearable. A different opinion feels like persecution. A disagreement feels like an attack. A conversation feels like conflict. That's not sovereignty. That's fragility. This perspective isn't for those newly awakening to hold, but it is for those of us who have had the blinders removed for some time now, especially if you're a voice within this community. Be choosy when receiving guidance, friend. One is hesitant to accept matchmaking advice from someone who's never married, nor from one experiencing their 5th marriage. Likewise, the fruits expose the roots in all. Words can be deceptive. Spelling, anyone? But the proof is in the pudding. Think about a gym. No one develops muscle by lifting feathers. So there's probably some techniques out there, but generally speaking, we don't lift feathers when we want to gain muscle. Growth requires resistance. The same principle exists emotionally. The situations we avoid often contain the very lessons that we most need. Not because we're supposed to suffer, but because life is revealing where greater freedom is available for us. The goal isn't to seek conflict. The goal is to stop fearing it. Because every trigger asks a powerful question. Can you remain present with yourself right now? Can you stay conscious? Can you observe without immediately reacting? Can you remain connected to your own center? That is the work. Many people think regulation means never feeling angry. That's impossible. Regulation doesn't mean emotions disappear. And those pretending to never experience the passionate emotions are misleading. Regulation means emotions move. A regulated person still feels anger. They still feel sadness. They still feel disappointment. They still feel frustration. The difference is they don't become the emotion. The emotion passes through. It doesn't take over the entire system. Anger visits. It doesn't move in. That's emotional maturity. There was a time when I thought that peace meant avoiding conflict. I thought growth meant creating a life so controlled that nothing upset me. When I first awakened, I thoroughly relaxed into a cocoon lifestyle I created for myself. Harsh opinions and judgments were quickly met by my spiritual bouncer and tossed. But this was not conducive to the life of serenity my nervous system needed. Then life handed me situations that I couldn't ignore, avoid, or amputate. Relationships, family dynamics, community, disagreements, moments where people behaved in ways that I never would. And I learned two very important things. One, not everyone has my heart or intentions. And two, growth wasn't measured by how many triggers I escaped. Growth was measured by how many I could sit with without abandoning myself. Could I stay grounded? Could I breathe? Could I remain aware? Could I respond instead of react? Could I honor my boundaries without becoming destructive? That became the real work. Anger often arrives when your soul is asking for change. Sometimes it says, speak up, stop tolerating this, honor yourself, tell this truth, choose differently, protect what matters. Anger becomes destructive when we hand it the steering wheel. But when we listen to it with awareness, it can become one of our greatest teachers. The goal isn't, how do I never get triggered again? That's impossible, friend. But the goal is, how quickly can I return to myself once I am? How quickly can I remember who I am? How quickly can I reconnect with my breath? How quickly can I choose consciousness over conditioning? That's the path. Not perfection, but presence. Not avoidance, but awareness. Not suppression, integration. Your triggers are not evidence that you have failed. They're evidence that you found another doorway, another opportunity, another layer ready for healing. Life isn't attacking you. Life is revealing you to yourself. Anyone can remain calm in ideal circumstances, but consciousness isn't developed in ideal circumstances. It's developed in the moments when every part of you wants to erupt. And instead, you choose awareness. You choose presence. You choose yourself. You become the observer observing. And that changes everything. I'm SarahSigma, This is what the frequency. A place where remembering is sacred, healing is rebellion, and we know love, the frequency that never fades. Until next time, y'all, stay harmonic.